What is up, my awesome YouTubers? So, yes, I am doing a double post today. I am doing 2 videos. Did not expect to do this. I have a lot more free time on my hands today than I thought I would. Cleaned the house up, showered, shaved, went under a total transformation, right? And I was like, you know what? There's a video I've been meaning to do for some months now, and I think it really came to light when Halloween 2018 came out. And so I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the video, and we're going to talk about the, in my opinion, the 5 most controversial movies in the Halloween franchise. Now, and this is an in defense of type of video. I will spoil this for you right now. Halloween Resurrection is not in this. I cannot defend that turd pile, nor will I attempt to defend that turd pile. If you like staring at shit for an hour and a half, more power to you. For me, can't do it. Won't do it. Haven't watched it in over 2 years. Don't know when, if ever, I will again. Just not a fan of it. Not going to do an in defense of, because I can see all the criticisms that movie gets and I cannot get past them. So don't worry. No in defense of for that. So let's start with, and this is in no particular order really. This is just, I guess it's from oldest to newest. So I didn't even do that on purpose. Let's start with one of the most controversial films in the franchise. Again, like I said, these are the bastard children, so to speak, the ones that it's popular to hate on. And I'm going to defend them a little bit. Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. It is no secret that 1989's Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers is incredibly hated by a large portion of the Halloween fan base and horror fan base in general. People call it contrived, stupid, goofy, lacking in plot, lacking in any real performance from any of the actors, just lacking in almost every area. Hokey, you name it, they've called it that. My opinion, I love Halloween 5. Those of you that have followed my channel this long know I love Halloween 5. It's no secret to anybody that I love Halloween 5. I am not going to sit here in this video and tell you guys you have to agree with what I say or you're wrong for not liking one of these movies. I can understand like their flaws. I can see their faults and go, yeah, it's not too great. Some people can get past them, some people can't. But this is an in defense of. So Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. First off, let's address the goofiness. Is it goofy? First of all, you had the cops. The clown music with the cops, it's goofy. It's supposed to lighten the mood, and in reality, it just feels totally out of place. Tina is super over the top. She is flamboyant, as they would call nowadays, extra. She is all that in a bag of chips. I mean, really. She is unlike many other characters I've seen in horror in my day. I mean, she's unlike anyone else. And Jamie being mute, and, the whole kind of hokey, as people will call it, crazy Dr. Loomis. All right, so let's defend a couple of these things. One, the cops are stupid. The music tells you the cops are supposed to be stupid. They're not supposed to be taken seriously. Does it really fit in a Halloween movie? In hindsight, probably not. Does it fit in a 1980s movie that's not trying to take itself too seriously? Absolutely. We have to understand that the rules of this franchise changed with every single installment. It got to a point where there weren't rules anymore. We wanted to hold every movie to the standard of the original, but we have to understand that no movie is ever going to hold a candle to that. No Halloween movie will ever hold a candle to the original. So we have to take each new iteration as what it is. Take it at face value and run with it. if you don't like it, that is totally fine. But we have to stop being unfair with our expectations when it comes to Halloween movies. But yes, The Cops, dumb. But it was 80s. It was so 80s. Tina, over the top, crazy. Yes, but it was 80s. I mean, like I said, not to the point of where you've seen it a lot, but there are a lot of horror characters like Tina, not to her extent, but like Tina from the 80s in horror movies. I mean, loud, rambunctious, kind of stupid. You don't really know what purpose they serve. You feel like maybe the purpose they serve at the end of the movie was just to kind of give us a reason to justify them being there, and we're supposed to buy into it. And then it's up to the viewer if you buy into it or not. I did. I think Tina redeems herself with what she does for Jamie, because she buys Jamie just enough time to get away from Myers. But again, can I say that Tina was good? I can't say that. Because it didn't bother me, but it may bother you guys. But again, she was a stupid teenager that was in an 80s slasher movie to die. I mean, I feel like we put too much emphasis on certain things in these movies. So again, there's that. Loomis. All I'm going to say is, wouldn't you be freaking crazy by now? I mean, this is the 4th movie now that you're chasing around Michael Myers, your patient for 15 years that got away to begin with. You failed once, you failed twice, you failed a 3rd time. Don't you think by the 4th time you'd be like, I don't care what it takes to get this dude. I'm getting this dude. I don't care what I got to do. I'll set up booby traps. I'll freaking lure him in with Jamie as bait. I don't care. I'm getting him no matter what. I'm done trying to preach to the townspeople that they need to believe me. I'm done trying to come off as this sympathetic old man that just needs someone to believe in him and someone to take his side. I'm done with it. I'm just going to take matters into my own hands. Quite frankly, I had no problem with that at all. It's totally believable, and Donald Pleasance sells it. That's the most important thing. If this was another actor with that kind of performance, but Pleasance sells it, and that speaks to Donald as an actor. Jamie being mute, it's kind of common knowledge that kids respond to trauma in very different ways. I know the biggest issue people have with Jamie being mute isn't that she was mute for half the movie. It was that instead of taking the character arc from the end of 4 and, seeing where they went with that, they made her mute instead. I get that that's really the big complaint about her being mute. Having said that, though, we're crying over spilled milk. They didn't go the route that Halloween 4 teased, and we have to accept that. And that was, Mustafa Akkad's doing. He didn't want them to. So they took the idea that he kind of had in place and they ran with it. It didn't bother me, especially because it didn't last the whole movie. But I've got to say, even if it bothers you, I mean, Danielle Harris is really good. Like, really good for being a 12-year-old kid? I think she turned 12 on set. So 11, 12-year-old kid selling her being mute, like selling that she did that really well. I had no issue with that at all. I thought that, okay, if you're going to make this decision, we can argue all day about whether we like the decisions they made, whether we like the direction they went in. That's not the point. The point is, with the direction they went, can you buy it? And a lot of that has to do with the performances. And with Danielle's performance, I can buy it. So I didn't have an issue with it. And, it's pointless for me to complain about them not going the end of Halloween 4 route, because it didn't happen. So we got what we got. And another big complaint about the movie is, the 2 other complaints. The Man in Black, that is one that you can't really defend when you see how it ended up. It was a nice mystery, but that one, it's like, okay, yeah, but you're going to start to convolute things, and then you're really going to piss people off. Having said that, though, me personally, come on, it's, it is what it is. He ended up serving a purpose in Halloween 6, love it or hate it. So, maybe it was their bad for introducing it too early without it being answered for 6 years. Who knows? But overall, it wasn't pointless. Um, and then the Myers house. Everybody complains about the Myers house. Huge complaint about the Myers house. Real quickly, Dominique Othman and Gerard said that the script they wrote made required them to have a house like that of that size. It needed to have a laundry chute. It needed to have an attic. It needed to have certain things. He wanted it to have this gothic feel, and so they had to go with a house like that. Now, people can say, okay, but why did you have to write it that way? Well, I don't want to hear people say that because a lot of people that don't like Halloween 5 say that they like the ending. They like the laundry chute sequence. They like Jamie being chased throughout the house. They enjoy that finale. Okay, so you liked the finale, you just didn't like the setting of the finale. Well, the finale written that you liked had to take place in a setting of, a setting that was what, you know what I'm saying. It had to take place in that setting. So, again, it is what it is. I mean, my whole thing with Halloween 5 is we are taking it way too seriously for a late 80s slasher movie that is the fifth installment in a series now that has seen some hokey things already, and we're too quick to try to compare it to the original Halloween movie, and it's just not fair, and we just need to take it for what it is. And like I said, guys, if you still don't like it, you don't like it. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. But from my perspective, in defense of, I can defend a lot of these things. I can kind of suspend disbelief a little bit and go, okay, whatever. I'm not going to let this movie rile me up so much. So yeah, that's why I love Halloween 5. So Halloween 5. The next one that is incredibly divisive. Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. And obviously you have the producer's cut and the theatrical cut. And that is a big reason why it is so divisive, because you have these alternate cuts. And at the end of the day, though, there's really one major complaint with Halloween 6. It's not the atmosphere. The atmosphere is incredible. It's not the acting. The acting is all around pretty good. It's not the kills. The kills are pretty freaking cool. It's one thing. The Thorn, the Curse of Thorn, and how muddled it ended up being. In either version you watch, even if it's the producer's cut, it's still like, okay, that's really, really, really hard to believe at some points and to digest. But to defend Halloween 6, I'm going to say a lot of what I said with Halloween 5. We're now on the sixth movie in a franchise, slasher franchise, and they felt under pressure to bring in a new stories concept for Michael Myers, or they felt their brand was going to become dated and nobody was going to care anymore. And such an iconic franchise already at that point was going to go by the wayside because of lack of creativity, lack of originality. So that was a big reason for why they did what they did. Also, not a lot of people would touch it with a 10-foot pole, and the people that did touch it, Mustafa didn't like their pitch. He finally liked Daniel Farron's pitch, who was a fan of the Halloween movies, so you can tell it's kind of fanboy-y at times. Is that necessarily bad? Not from a fan's perspective, no, but from an outside mainstream audience member, it is, because they don't really get all of it. They're not getting the wink, wink, nudge, nudge type things. They're not understanding that. We are, and we appreciate it. But Halloween 6 was given a very hard task. You had 6 years in between 4 and 5, which 4 was, very well received. 5, not so much, but still successful financially. Both of them were. You were kind of like, okay, we have to answer what happened to Jamie. We have to answer who the Man in Black was, or who the Man in Black is. We have to answer, we have to bring family into this again somehow, because, if Danielle Harris isn't going to come back and we have to kill her off, well, we have to have some family in here because Michael goes after his family and yada, yada, yada. So, there was a lot of things that went behind the scenes of this production that they were already up against the 8 ball. And on top of that, you had the studio and the director clashing about, this is what we want. No, this is what I want. and then the producers clashing as well about wanting something different, and that's why you have so many different cuts. But that's really the one complaint with Halloween 6, and if I can defend it, I'm going to say this, like I said, the same thing about Halloween 5. It was unfair to expect so much of a movie that was set up to fail almost. It was unfair to, it's unfair to expect greatness when you're working off of, whether you like Halloween 4 or not. I do, and I like 5 as well, but you're working off a lot of loose ends. It's not fair to judge the movie so harshly when we never really got to see what the movie should have been, because Miramax and Dimension are assholes. I mean, it's just the way it is. They ruined this movie. So you have to take it for what it is, and you have to either, find enjoyment in it in some way, or swallow it and move on. I find enjoyment in Halloween 6, and I can get past a lot of the complaints about Halloween 6 because it was never set up to succeed, and that is a lot to do with the people that made it, and not the final, and not I wouldn't say that. It has a lot to do with the upper management and the big guys, the big wigs, rather than the little people that made the movie. So that's my defense of Halloween 6. Now, Rob Zombie's Halloween from 2007, the remake, incredibly divisive, but not as divisive as another film in this series. So Rob Zombie's Halloween, a lot of people agree that they love Myers in it. They like the kills. The acting is overall pretty good. The score is good. But here's the complaints with Rob Zombie's Halloween. Michael's backstory and just young Michael in general. The language and feeling like a half-assed attempt in the second half of rehashing John's Halloween. So to those three major points, one, I will say, I can't defend the language. I can't. I won't try to defend the language. Rob Zombie has a mouth like that. It's just how it is. It's just words, sure, but I agree. After a while, you're like, okay, can we tone this down? Because this really limits the audience, that the amount of people I can show this movie to. So I won't try to defend that. That is one legitimate complaint about Rob Zombie's Halloween that I don't think you can defend. You can either get past it like I can. I mean, I can watch it and be like, whatever, it's just words. But at the same time, also be like, but still, there's a lot of them. And some of the ones like Skullfuck and the bullies in the bathroom, some of that stuff, yeah, I mean, it's no bueno. So I get that. I won't try to defend that. But the two things I will try to defend, the other two complaints, young Michael Myers' backstory. One, I don't think Daig Fairch did a bad job at all. I thought Daig was very well cast in the role. I thought that he was, again, up against the 8 ball, fairly or unfairly, because of the character that he was portraying. But I think he did a good job. And I think it was to his benefit that it hadn't been done before with Michael Myers. So he didn't have something to live up to. He was able to do that in his own way. But a lot of people just don't like the fact that there was a backstory given to Michael Myers. You're right. It doesn't need to happen. There never needed to be a backstory for Michael Myers. But in defense of there being a backstory, again, don't get this confused, guys. I'm just arguing these points. I'm not, whether I agree or not. I'm just defending what I can defend, seeing both sides of it. But in defense of there being a backstory, it was new. It was fresh. Rob Zombie wanted to make the movie his own. And I can respect that, because I would have much rather had a movie where a director was like, I know the source material, I know the characters I have to build this movie around, but I'm going to go in my own creative directions with some of the decisions. That way, I don't feel like I'm ripping off another movie. Like them or hate them, the decisions they make, I can respect that. Rob Zombie went his own way. He didn't want to do the same thing over again. He wanted to say, okay, we've seen the quiet, unassuming, unsuspecting evil comes out of nowhere, no trigger whatsoever. Now, let's see, well, what if he was bullied? What if he was a victim? What if physical and emotional trauma led to this monster being created? And quite frankly, I didn't have a huge problem with it. Again, I can respect it for what it is because it was different. It was new. He wasn't basically going, hey, John, can you just send me the film, just send me the film that you guys shot and I'll just fucking like remaster it and call it Rob Zombie's Halloween. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he did his own thing with that. Now, as the years have gone on, I'm not as big of a fan of the first half, but that's mainly just because of some of the, like I said, the language, some of the dialogue choices, some of the, I don't know, just it drags at points. But in defense of it, I can respect it because it was different and it was somebody trying to put their own stamp on something without being dated or unoriginal. So I can respect that. And then the second half, the complaint that people give it is that it feels too much like a retread of John Carpenter's. This one's not hard for me to disagree with. I disagree. I think there was, generally speaking, yes, it's the same, but a lot of things happen in totally different settings. You have Linda and Bob at the Myers house. They die in similar ways to the original, but not the same. You have what's Danielle Harris's character, so Annie and Bob, or no, God, what's Annie's boyfriend. What's his name? Dear God, Paul. I knew it. I knew I'd get it. Annie and Paul. They actually meet up and they go to a house together. I believe it's the Wallace house, and we actually see them get killed together in a different way. Well, Annie doesn't die, but you know what I mean. The final showdown in the Myers house, totally different, leading up to it with the pool and the basement and Annie being left there alive, totally different. So again, I don't really think that's fair because yes, do we have the same characters die? Do we have Michael stalking the same characters and they're doing kind of the same things? I mean, yeah, but it's in different locations. They die in different ways and they get to these points in the story in different ways. So I don't really have a problem with that. So yeah, that's in defense of Rob Zombie's Halloween. Now, having said that, is it a great movie? No. But it's enjoyable. I like Rob Zombie's Halloween. As time has gone on, I don't like it as much. But as time has gone on, I also like the second half a lot more. So, I don't know. That's defending Rob Zombie's Halloween. Oh, here we go. Here's the good one. The most divisive movie I think I've ever seen. And that is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Fair or unfair, maybe there are more divisive movies. I Spit on Your Grave, Last House on the Left, The Hills Have Eyes. I know over time, back in the day and stuff, they were very divisive. And I've seen those, so I can agree with that. But personally, I think this is the most divisive movie that I've ever seen. And just the general hatred for it online. Okay, first of all, I absolutely love Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I love this movie. I will never, ever fall out of love with this movie. The complaints about this movie are pretty simple, and there's a couple big ones. Michael Myers' appearance, the symbolism with the white horse, Michael's mom, all that, the dialogue again, and Dick Loomis. Those are pretty much the four things. Let's knock one out right now. The dialogue. Definitely toned down from the first movie. I don't care who you are, it's definitely toned down from the first movie. There's not as many cringy parts. But I agree. Some of the dialogue is very bad. The coroner yelling fuck like 30 times when they hit the cow is like, we get it. You're in pain. Whatever. And right before they wreck, the shit they're talking about is fucked up. I get that. So I won't defend that. You guys are right on that. Anybody that has that complaint, I will not try to defend that. So let's defend the big three. Michael's appearance. Well, if Michael didn't die after Rob Zombie's Halloween and was driven out, God knows how far, whatever, gets in a wreck, gets out of the van, has no idea where he is, has never been on foot before, to that capacity. He's never traveled around or anything. I mean, he's wandering. He is wandering. So his mask would wear down. He would get cold. He's a human. So he would kill people, take their jacket. I mean, he's outside in all the elements for a year. It would make sense, well, depending on which cut you watch. It could be 2 years as well. It would make sense for him to have a beard. Do you think he would have the time to shave? I mean, would he just take his knife and just shave like something he's probably never done before in his life? Not fair. It's not all that stuff. Eating the dog and stuff. I mean, yeah, he's a predator. Like he's stupid. He has the mind of a child. He was locked up since he was a child. All he knows is his primal instincts to survive. So all that. I mean, all those complaints. Hobo Myers, as they call him. Look, I'm just gonna say it pretty bluntly. That is because we haven't seen this type of realism in a Halloween movie yet. We just haven't. We have been, a lot of the movies where we pick up years later or whatever, where we just expect, oh, of course, Michael's going to look great. His mask is going to look great. His coverall's great. He's still in impeccable shape. He's actually just been sleeping for a year, just recharging, yada, 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 whatever you want to say. Again, if you don't like it, that's totally fine. I'm not going to tell you have to like it. But to hate on a movie for being realistic is unfair. Unfair. Again, unfairly comparing it to the original Halloween. Now, whether we want to or not, we're never going to be able to not compare, in ways. It was the granddaddy of these movies. It was the blueprint. So you're always going to go back to it in ways and be like, yeah, but the original. So I get it, but it's not fair to hate on a movie for being realistic. I mean, that is realistic. That's realism at its finest. And that's one of Rob Zombie's best traits as a director is a lot of realism. I mean, there's just a lot of realism. I mean, it's not really debatable whether you like it or not. One thing, but whatever. I'm done ranting about that. So yeah, like I said, it's just realistic. It didn't bother me. But I know it bothered a lot of people because they said, we've never seen this before. This isn't Halloween. This isn't the Halloween, movies that we've, seen 9 times now. The 9 different movies. Like, you're doing something totally different. This is not Halloween. I don't like this. I get that. That's a purist way of looking at it. And you're more than entitled to that opinion. But to hate on a movie for realism and say it's bad for that is just unfair. Because it's realistic. It just is. The symbolism. The White Horse and Deborah Myers. The White Horse, I get. I actually don't have a problem with the White Horse. When we're seeing a lot of things from Michael's perspective, we're also kind of getting a look into his mind. And to know that White Horse is symbolic to basically mental instability and rage and just pent up aggression. I get the symbolism. It didn't need to be there as much, maybe, but maybe just once after you saw the excerpt at the beginning, so you could go, oh, okay, like you're kind of telling us in another way where Michael's mental state is at. So I get that. It didn't really have a problem with it. Deborah Myers, I'm iffy on. I'll agree with you guys on that. Was she necessary? No. But at the same time, does Michael want to kill his family? Yes. Who was the only person Michael was ever close to? His mother. He's crazy. He's insane. He's a psychopath. He's seeing visions of his mother telling him to basically bring their family back together again. It's very plausible for somebody mentally unstable. I mean, it's very plausible for somebody mentally unstable. But I'll agree that I wasn't a huge fan of it because I thought that Sherry Moon, this is her weakest performance. No, 31 is her weakest performance. And then this one. Not a good performance at all. But having said that, and again, like, I wasn't a huge fan of it either, but I can see it. I mean, it can be explained. I can go, okay, I can see how that would happen. Whether I like it or not, I can see it. And that's my whole point with Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. A lot of the complaints about the movie are because people didn't like them. And they shit on these things about the movie because they didn't like them. Not because it's not realistic, not because it doesn't make sense or whatever, because it does. What I'm trying to say is people will say it's incoherent and it doesn't make sense and none of it is realistic, and none of it is this, and none of it is that, but it's very coherent. It's very realistic. It makes sense. It's just, is it your cup of tea or not? I would totally appreciate if people were like, yeah, man, I mean, I get it, but it's just not my movie. Like, I'm not a fan of it, didn't really care for it. I would totally get that, and I would respect that. But I just can't stand when people are like, oh, the fucking white horse and fucking Hobo Myers, it makes no sense. It does, guys. It makes sense. I've defended this movie ad nauseum. I will continue to defend this movie ad nauseum because it makes sense. It's realistic. It's coherent. Whether it's for you or not, that's a totally different debate. But, and that's not even a debate. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Great. But don't shit on a movie saying it's not realistic and it's not coherent and it's a piece of shit when it actually is coherent. It actually is realistic. I don't know, guys. And you guys that follow my channel, you know how I feel about this movie. I don't want you guys to hate on me for what I'm saying about these movies. I'm simply making this video to say I can see your issues with these, and I have a lot of the same issues, as I've agreed to some of them, but I can see past some of them as well, and this is why, if I were going to play devil's advocate, so to speak. So yeah, and then another complaint is the hospital scene at the beginning not being real. That was a bummer to me too. I love that whole sequence. So it was a huge bummer for that one to not be real, but I get it because it was Rob Zombie's way of saying, in 10, 15 minutes of time saying, I want you to know I acknowledge what the original Halloween 2 was. I want you to know that I want to show you that I could do a movie like that and do it well, but I'm going in my own way. So it was kind of an homage. Shitty that it was a dream, but I appreciated the homage, the kind of nod to the fans. For people that thought he didn't care about the fans, he did. He does care about the fans. He did care about the fans. He was actually a member on the Halloween message board before his remake came out, and had to leave the message board because people were seriously making like death threats. And just saying vile things about him and Sherry Moon. And like, he was just trying to be a part of the fan base and get a feel for everything. So, whatever. But, so yeah, I mean, a lot of wacky symbolism in this movie, a lot of totally different, totally like left turns for the franchise in this movie. Rob Zombie forgetting the rules of Halloween and just running with it. But I appreciate it because it makes sense. Whether you like it or not, it makes sense. You can explain it. It's realistic. Hate it, go for it. Just be like, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I see what you're saying, but I didn't like it. That's fine. But do not tear down a movie for reasons that you cannot justify. Don't do it. Don't do it. Please, don't do it with any movie, ever. By the way, I do not like the director's cut ending of this movie. Michael talking, I will agree. That is one rule you never fucking break. Oh, and Dick Loomis, I didn't address that. I'll address that really quick. That makes sense. He was money hungry. He survived. He got thrown into the spotlight because of it, so he capitalized on it. He was like, well, the people that were affected are dead, so they're not going to come at me. I have an opportunity to be rich and sell my story of pain, so be it. Was I a huge fan of Dick Loomis? No. I mean, he's funny at times. I prefer the original type of Loomis, but Malcolm McDowell sold it. It was believable for his character to take that arc. I mean, it's not like I was like, why would Loomis do that? Like, it makes sense. But, a lot of survivors of tragedies end up on TV shows and writing books and have movies made about them because they survived and they're there to tell the story and they're cashing in off of it. So I get that. So yeah, Dick Loomis, love him or hate him. Now, I didn't prepare this. Hold on. I did not prepare this one because I thought I was just going to do 4. And then at the onset of the video, I said 5, the 5 most polarizing and divisive. So might as well just go with the next polarizing movie in the Halloween franchise. Halloween 2018. Yep. And this is no surprise to anyone. And this one's pretty cut and dry. Halloween 2018 is polarizing and divisive for one main reason. Forgetting a lot of the continuity of the franchise and trying to create its own continuity and be treated as the true Halloween 2. You're either okay with that or you're miffed by that because you're like, no, I liked Halloween 2. I liked Halloween H2O. you want me to act like that never happened, and this is a alternate, reality. Yes, that's exactly what it's asking you to do. A lot of people will agree. There's really no arguing that it's well shot, it's well written, it's well acted. The kills are great. The score is great. The atmosphere is very good. Not one of the best in the franchise, but good. It's really just that one complaint. That's why this movie is divisive. You're asking us to erase the continuity that we've known for so long and accept a new one. And as this movie's going along, you're like, but didn't this kind of already happen before? Oh, no, it was kind of different, I guess. But, oh, it's kind of hard to look at Jamie Lee and not think about her in the hospital and not think about her as a headmistress and, in California trying to get away from Michael. And it's really hard. And well, again, I didn't even mention this. I don't know why. The brother-sister angle. That's the biggest part of this whole continuity thing that they want you to let go of. And that's the hardest part. Because some of the greatest moments in the Halloween franchise, whether the movies were shit or not, were facing that evil down. She knew it was her brother. That's her brother. They are related. Some great one-liners came from that. Some great moments, thrilling moments in the series. It was a very shocking reveal in Halloween 2, 81's Halloween 2. So I get all that. To defend it, it's nothing new. You guys have probably heard this a million times, and you probably agree too. But, just because it's in defense of, they had to do that. I mean, the plot, the arc that this story took over the past 40 years was so convoluted at this point. How do you explain one without explaining the other? How do you explain it? Especially with some of the shit Michael's been through, Laurie's been through. You can't get returning actors to come back and return as characters from previous movies such as H2O or Halloween 2. There's just a lot to it. The general audience isn't really going to get it that much. They had to make sure this movie was a hit. They had to make sure that a everyday moviegoer could go see this movie and get it. Like, wouldn't need to go refresh themselves on all the Halloween lore. They could go to a horror movie in October and get it and just be along for the ride. That was the goal of this movie. And they did it in spades. They had to do that because Halloween was on life support. The franchise was. It just was. And Blumhouse was basically graciously like, we're going to help you revive this, Universal and Miramax. But, we're going to do this in a very marketable way, a very audience-friendly way. Because for us to make money, for your franchise to keep going as well, we have to do that. And, I mean, I didn't have a huge issue with it. I can accept that there's two alternate realities. I mean, it's hard. Definitely, it's hard. Now that this movie came out, it makes you look at things like totally differently. So, I mean, it is really hard. But, you can look at it and just go, well, now I'm watching this movie, and while I'm watching this movie, I go, but none of that other stuff I watched happened in this universe. Parallel dimensions, maybe, who knows? But overall, I mean, it made sense. Oh, it's my cat's tail. He's hanging out. Oh, anyway, so it made sense. I'm not going to say whether you like it or not, you're wrong or right. That's all subjective, objective. If you liked it, great. I did like it. If you didn't like it, I'm sorry. Like that, and there also, I also didn't like it in a way. You know what I mean? Like, I like it, I didn't like it. It's hard to accept. But it was necessary to bring Halloween back, and I'm very grateful for them bringing Halloween back, and I'm very grateful that it was a success. And it did have some badass moments in it. And all I can say is, where the fuck is the sequel, Blumhouse? Get it made. So yeah, guys, this video was super long. One of the longest videos I've ever made. But when I talk about something I'm passionate about, I tend to rant sometimes. And that's what I did. I ranted about all 5 of those movies that people shit on for many different reasons in the Halloween franchise. And there they are. that was an in defense of. That is not saying you are wrong and I am right. That is me saying you may be right. I'm not saying you're wrong at all. I'm just saying, but look at it from this perspective. Or saying maybe, yes, but can you see it from this other side? Can you understand where other people are coming from? Yada, 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 yada. You get what I'm trying to do. It was an in defense of. It was playing devil's advocate. I was trying to see for maybe the people that haven't heard the other side or maybe don't want to hear the other side. Listen to the other side sometimes and go, okay, I understand that. Still not my cup of tea, but I understand that. And my whole goal is to get people to stop hating on movies for unfair reasons. Let's be fair to these movies. Let's understand and appreciate them for what they are. Let's be fair to them because they're here. We're never going to get rid of them. We didn't make them. So let's take them for what they are. Love them or hate them. So yeah, that was my super long video. This is Coasters R Beast 09 and Kylo signing off.